Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back. Hope you had a fantastic July the 4th holiday, a weekend celebrating the independence of this fantastic country that we live in, a country, never been another country like we live in. Before I get into our morning musings this morning, don't want you to forget Preterist Pilgrim Weekend 2015 coming up July 16th through the 18th. I tell you what, this is going to be an absolutely fantastic event. And the theme is dispensationalism, dangerous or divine. Pardon me, in the world that we live in, Zionism is everywhere, telling us that the end is right around the corner. And of course, we've heard that for generation after generation. But we're going to be sharing with you some absolutely foundational and fundamental, but absolutely incredible facts about dispensationalism and Zionism that you need to know about, that will help equip you to answer this doctrine. Well, we are looking at the eschatology of the parables of Jesus. And we're looking at the parable in Matthew chapter 24:32. Jesus had predicted the desolation of the Old Covenant temple, that temple at Jerusalem. The disciples, in response to that prediction, said, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Now, I've already shared with you the major presupposition that surrounds Matthew 24, verse 3. About 99% of the commentators say, well, the disciples were mistaken. They were confused. They were wrong. They wrongly associated Jesus' coming with the fall of Jerusalem. They wrongly linked the end of the age with the end of that temple. But folks, what temple or what age did that temple represent? It didn't represent the end of time. Didn't represent the end of the Christian age. That temple represented the Mosaic age. When Jesus was predicting the fall and the destruction of that temple, prophetically, the end of the age was to be linked with that event according to Daniel chapter 12. Okay. So the disciples asked, "What shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" In Matthew chapter 24, Jesus gave some preliminary events, horrific events, wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, earthquakes, famines, etc. But he said, "Do not be deceived. The end is not yet." And then he gave them a sign of the end. Now remember, they're asking a sign for the end of the age. Jesus gave them a sign. This gospel of the kingdom must be preached in all of the world for a witness to the nations. Then comes the end. What end? What's the only end that they've asked about? The end of the age. And so they ask about a sign of the end of the age. Jesus said, here's a sign. The completion of the world mission. You know what? I hear preachers say all the time, well, the coming of the Lord can't be near, or the coming of the Lord is near, because we're closer today to fulfilling the Great Commission than we ever have been. Listen to me very carefully, okay? The Great Commission was fulfilled in the first century. Now, I'll share with you in the next segment why, even though that Great Commission was fulfilled in the first century, why it's necessary for us to continue to preach the gospel. I know that some people say, oh, well, if the gospel was preached into all the world in the first century, then there's no need for evangelism now. That is a non sequitur, it's unbiblical, and it's false. So I'll answer that in the next segment. But for now, notice this. This is incredible. I wrote a book some years ago, 1996 as a matter of fact, entitled, Into All the World, Then Comes the End. On page 4 of this book, I have a chart. And in this chart, I demonstrate that Jesus used several different Greek words in predicting the preaching of the gospel into all the world, to every creature, into all the earth. Paul, in his writings, uses those exact same and precise words, every one of them, to say that the gospel had been preached into all the world. Jesus said this gospel of the kingdom must be preached in all the world. Greek word oikumene. Romans 10:18, Paul said the gospel had been preached into all the oikumene. Jesus said, go into all of the world, preach the gospel to every creature. Katisis, Greek word katisis. Paul said, Colossians 1:23, the gospel had been preached to every creature, katisis, under heaven. Jesus said the gospel would be preached in Judea, Samaria, and the othermost parts of the world, Greek word gi, for earth. Paul said the gospel had been preached into all of the earth, Romans 10:18, once again. You get the idea? There are other words that Jesus used, but here's the point. Let me emphasize this because you really, really have to catch the power of this. Every single word that Jesus used to command or to predict the preaching of the gospel into all of the world, Paul used to say that the gospel had been preached into all the world, to all of the earth, to every creature, to all of the nations. Now, since Jesus said, here's what's going to be done, and used all of these given words, and since Paul, writing in the 60s, said it has been done, upon what basis do we say, oh, well, no, it's never been done? See, that's not scriptural. Paul got his gospel, Paul got his eschatology, Paul got his commands from Jesus. Jesus said, here's what you're going to do, here's what you're supposed to do, and Paul said, it's been done. Isn't it time we accept the Bible's testimony and change our preconceived ideas? Hey, look, go to my website, eschatology.org or BibleProphecy.com or DonKPreston.com. Order the book, Then, or Into All the World, Then Comes the End. Make a note that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. I'm telling you, this book will absolutely blow your mind. It will prove without a shadow of a doubt that the parable of Jesus in Matthew 24, when you see all of these things come to pass, all of what things? The signs of the end. What was one of the signs of the end? The completion of the world mission. When you see these things come to pass, know that it what? The end of the age and the parousia is near, even at the door. Paul said it had been done. And Paul likewise said the end was near 2,000 years ago. Get a copy of the book. You'll be glad you did. Thanks for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. We'll see you on the flip side.